Obviously just wrapped up the Columbia County Fair, which is a big kind of capstone to our 4-H year. So I think this year the fair really reflected what we're seeing in general, the trend with 4-H, which is it's actually really growing and growing in popularity. I don't know if anybody was at the fair, but the animal barns this year, we have never had so many animals at the fair. We were taking stalls that are usually used for like wash stalls and having to actually put animals in them because we just had so many this year, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful problem to have to figure out where the guests are going to keep the animals. And that's what we're seeing as a trend is kids reaching out, families reaching out, looking for membership into 4-H. So we had some new clubs start this year. We are in talks with some people who always reach out after the fair and go, I'm interested in starting. So we'll see where that leads to. And then one of the things we've also opened up is independent membership, which is why some of these numbers are going up, where while kids are waiting to be placed with a club, because we have more kids than clubs, they can actually still participate in all the other aspects of 4-H that aren't club specific. So we do a lot of programs.
And Becky, just to add on, so when Becky says more kids than clubs, the issue which we all know about volunteerism is it's having club leaders to lead the clubs to volunteer. It's not that, so that's what we're taxed with. Just anyone in this room wants to do a club, we'll sign you up.
Yes, I should have been more clear on that one. Yes, it's like with a lot of places. You're good. And then we always also reach out. We're getting into this month is coming up is club reorganization, which will also be reaching out to the clubs that are already established and see who's taking on new members. And so it's a whole process to see if we can get some of the kids placed that are kind of on the waiting list. But in the meantime, this independent membership lets them still show at the fair, still participate in like all the animal clinics we offered throughout the year and other 4-H activities that we offer.
Kids seem younger this year too. There were a lot of younger.
There are a lot of younger ones.
Just wanted you to know this.
Yeah. We do. We have a lot of younger kids.
People with babies are getting younger. You know, but I don't know.
But that's actually something we really like to see because that gives us a lot of hope that this trend of growing is continuing. Because if they're younger, hopefully they'll stay
Under
with us.
10, Ron.
Under 10,
Under
okay.
10.
What is younger?
And we've actually been pushing that so we can ensure that the 4-H program stays vibrant because if anybody's not familiar with the youth landscape right now, but like sports get the kids really young. And then if we wait too long, we're not going to be able to get them into the 4-H as much. So that was really good to see. Our fair can never run 100% smoothly, but we got a lot of positive feedback. That was one of the ones that it has run smoother this year than it has in recent history. So people are very pleased with that. The animal shows and all our other shows went well. Again, we're seeing this still projects coming back to a lot more kids are engaging in different types of projects for 4-H. Our livestock auction was record setting. The kids grossed over $89,000, which 95% of that goes right straight back to the kids. 3% of it goes to a designated fund that we have for the livestock program so that, again, we can buy some equipment and help keep that program going. And then we take like a small 2% for some admin fees because we have to send out all the bills and do a lot of back end stuff afterwards.
Doing most of the buying. Is there any pattern?
There are patterns.
Very generous.
What did you sign up for?
Very generous people.
Buy a $500 chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that I will say that is the one thing, and we try to reinforce with the kids that this is not usual.
I'll introduce you to Phil Trowbridge and you'll buy something next year too.
Yeah, he's really good at getting people to buy.
Thanks for packing the audience, guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
It
great.
was great, and we appreciate it, and it means a lot to the kids. They do. They work very hard. it's not easy to raise those animals.
Was the rooster crowing contest a 4-H event?
No,
Because that was also a lot of fun. In the middle of the 4-H area, so.
oh, was it in the ring?
No, but it was outside all of the poultry barns, so you could take in the rooster and there were lots of kids around, so it was hard to tell, so.
Yes, and we
A lot
do.
of coaching too.
Yeah, we do some other, like, so at Columbia Hall, some of the other non-animal related things we'll do is the public presentation showcase, the fashion review, so our kids that sew really nice outfits get a chance to show those off. Public presentations, for those that don't know, is actually one of our keystone programs, because if you talk to 4-H alumni who have participated, they will tell you the number one skill they got from 4-H into adulthood is from that public presentation.
Learning how to living legend.
Publicly, even if it wasn't their favorite 4-H program, they've now used it the most as adults.
And we have a star who did a project on beekeeping, on public presentation.
Oh, Elise says,
Yes.
yes. So she, actually, you're thinking, so throughout the year, there's all sorts of opportunities for the kids to participate in different things, both locally and statewide, and then we help facilitate the statewide. And so Elise Sayers won a national essay, no, she won a statewide essay on beekeeping. She wrote an essay on beekeeping that then was elevated to a national level. So she won out for New York State as a representative for. And so we're very proud of everything our youth do. Another kind of thing we do always at the fair is the milkshakes, the milk bar. And we really try to get the kids to be involved with that because, again, 4-H is all about hands-on learning how to do things. And that, again, is teaching business, mathematics, public engagement. And then those proceeds go back into the 4-H program, mainly in our scholarships. So we give out a number of scholarships for kids as they graduate from high school. And then we also do a number of scholarships because, like, statewide 4-H events can be kind of expensive. We don't set those prices, so we want to make sure that the kids can get to those things if they want to. That total sales was over $16,000. And when we take away what we spent, it was just shy of $10,000. And that's going back into our designated fund for those programs. So we really do try to take.
We all enjoy the milkshake. So
Yeah.
It's a win-win, right?
Yeah, and that money didn't include, we had a staff member who kind of ran the whole thing this year. And that doesn't include her time or anything. That's just purely, we take that money and funnel it back into the programs for the kids. So we're trying to make good use of everything.
So post-meeting, I want to talk to you about cup versus cone.
Okay.
I will say I am not the one that runs the milkshake.
Got to get the cones back.
And
That's controversy.
So we didn't have cones this year.
No, we did.
we did, you might be thinking of the other milk.
I think about the milk bar.
So there's two.
Am I the wrong milk bar?
You read, there's the Dairy Council one near the show ring, and they don't have cones. We have cones at the.
And we worked very well together.
Yes.
So the dairy board.
Yeah.
Right? So we worked with them and I got to meet Tim's sister and Cindy and I worked very, very well together this year, figuring out how to actually work all the new nozzles that come on these, multi-gallon.
Well, they're trying to get away from that.
Oh, they tried to sell us like $300 contraptions while we were there. I was like, no. But we share back and forth resources of youth and volunteers. That money helps children to go to, tours each year of agricultural, whereas ours was specifically into 4-H, but kids that are in 4-H, or maybe they're aged out, so it's cross-pollination of agriculture, and ours is on the other side behind Columbia Hall. You have to go to both.
Okay.
As supervisors to show true dairy excellence,
Right.
both, you have to go to both, right? I think it's only fair.
Okay. After the meeting, I'll talk to you about it.
So I will apologize. I'm probably gonna sneak out after our part just because I have to the dairy committee meeting
That's it.
at 6 to discuss we always meet with all the committees to kind of discuss fair and what worked really well and what maybe could be improved for next year, because we always like that engagement.
And I know that you guys had asked, and I think it may have been a supervisor, I was talking about after-school programs that we participate in. You said, why don't I have one? And I didn't have an answer. I want Becky to explain how that works, because I didn't have that answer for you 4 months ago. Now I do.
So we are rolling into more of a lot of our community programs start off, including the after-school programs. So the after-school programs are all funded by contracts with those programs. So that is one where specific programs, either we're participating on a grant with them, or they decided to partner with us to do that, but they fund it.
So
So
talk to the school district.
so talk to the school district
Yes.
if you want us in, and I can always give
Okay.
prices. And it's still, what you'll find is even with our community programming, we have to charge because it's just the nature of things right now, but we're very reasonable compared to other programs.
Okay, I know where to go. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish you had talked a little longer, save us from having.
Oh, Mike, you don't have
Report.
talents.
We have to be out by 6 because the new chairman likes that, but he's not here. so. I guess the first is broadband. A quick update on broadband. We continue to work with the state. They are saying that they're going to complete their recommendations in a report to the FCC. They're going to post it so the public can make comments to it before, and they'll submit it in December. Then the FCC comes back and either approves it or modifies it. And once that happens, then the state can go out and do RFPs with providers to identify who's interested in serving what available unserved sites, addresses there are. Then they take the RFPs and they send them back, and you're talking 62 counties, 900 and some towns.
Yeah.
They send the RFPs back to Washington, and then they approve whether they're within the price range that they expected, and then they send the money. They're looking at not seeing.
So it's
any-
100% funding then?
No,
It's
but
not- they don't know the match.
they don't know the match yet. That'll come out of the RFPs.
Hmm.
But the bottom line is they don't see any funding coming until the RFPs are approved. And that is the fall of 24. And I've heard people tell me, he continues, as I'm sure all of you do, get questions about broadband or cell service. And I did have a conversation with Ryan Giorgio at the Association of Counties. He was on the task force that Governor Cuomo had set up, and they issued a report. It's a very difficult issue because of technology, also because of topography, and also the issue of what it costs to get on a tower. And the towers, I guess, are owned by a particular company, and also some municipalities own them. And it did explain to me that as you go from 3G to 4G to 5G, the area that is served gets smaller and smaller.
And most of the towers are full now.
And they also indicated that, if you're in a community that has low population, low usage, and your tower equipment was put up 10 years ago, they probably haven't been upgraded. So over time, I've
got Verizon and Get, but they just,
yeah,
I invited them a year ago, come look. They weren't interested, and then all of a sudden there was a bit mad push to come in. Then they scared me with about an 8-page agreement to just do testing. Digging, soil samples, this and that. I'm like, turned it over to our town attorney. He's like, this is strange. So I don't know. He's gonna see what he thinks sounds important in it and see if they'll accept
I did speak
a
with
lesser of a offering.
I did
they
speak
want.
with Dave Lamondola, who's the government affairs guy for Verizon, to work for me. If you want to, we can get him on the phone and He also said they would get some of their, field, he would get me in touch with someone in their field operation, so that I get out of the government.
It's gonna be Stephanie.
Yeah, I get out of the government affairs.
Yep, I just got her, she just told me she's new to this.
You know, a rural area with low use could be a function of the fact that there's,
No ability to use it.
Right.
It's recycled.
Yeah, well, that's.
Can we make sure that the towers are putting up through the emergency radio program with the county? I know they're built, I think, to take advantage of commercial.
Yeah.
Bases, so we should maybe,
Yeah, I know that you approved one in Lebanon, I think, recently.
there one in Lebanon, we have in Gallatin.
Chatham.
We have 3 or 4 right now going up.
So,
We should make sure we-
yeah, we've had a couple of, inquiries. I did have a situation where someone called and they're a town board member, and when the meeting came time to, be scheduled, they emailed me, could, so-and-so who's a candidate for town board, join the call, and I said only if, everybody else on the town board's invited, but, they understood. We don't, we try to stay out of that. And so what we are doing, if someone does call, we do contact the supervisor, so that, if he or she wants to participate, at least, there's a ability to, not get, sidetracked at a meeting by someone bringing up something that, we shared the information thinking we were being helpful. And,
Is there any of the infrastructure money available for upgrades to communications, to cellular towers?
Well, Verizon claims they're going to spend a lot of money that they have committed at a corporate level, but how you get that is something that we're looking at. We were thinking, infrastructure is not specifically on here tonight, but what I'm looking at doing is talking with each of you about who is your town engineer, because I don't want anyone to get nervous. But what is their plan to help get these funds? Because if all the money comes out and we're not ready to answer an RFP, and we're not able to get money at the county level and disperse it, I don't want to. And so a lot of it's water and sewer. Obviously, the minute you get that money, people are going to be all up in arms that, well, we don't want congested developments near where we are, because you're going to put water and sewer there. But I keep reading in the that some of these emails we get from Washington or groups and things that all this money's coming. But we were looking at a EPA grant. And the idea is you get, the first round is you get study money, and then if your study qualifies, then you reapply and try to get, construction dollars. And, at first I thought, well, maybe I just start talking with, the 6 engineering firms that I know, but then, I was talking with my board chair, and he said, well, and that may get people nervous about, their incumbent engineers in a town, and we wouldn't want to go out and start doing that without getting some sense of what you're
Don't most of us
already
just
doing.
go Ray as the first start?
Yeah, well, we've raised kind of in these discussions with us, but, I think that, I first met Ray when, we were doing the grant application, for the, sewer line
Sewer
at
lines,
the
yeah.
Commerce Park. And, of course, at that level, he was very, aggressive because he was looking for the work.
Right.
I don't want to create something where I have, engineers calling every day to try to, I want to understand what are the possibilities? What is the existing, structure in the towns to do this? And then, at least be able to, when we get notifications of grants, not,
You gotta be ready.
you gotta be ready, but, and we also don't want to be in a situation, well, 3 towns are ready and the rest of you are out of luck, because we didn't suggest that you think about it.
So could we ask Don Nels to just map the cellular towers in the county and note and annotate? which
Well,
ones
that
are
data is available through the FCC, and we pulled some of that.
Yeah.
But I'll talk with Patrice and see, and get his technical advice. One of the people told me that the best way to handle this was to hire a consulting firm that we've all used here before, and I said, no, thank you.
Mike, do we know where the dead spots are with cell around the county?
Yeah, you can see it. I looked at I looked at,
Easier to know where the dead spots aren't. but-
I'm giving away who called me, but, I'm looking at the dead spots in the
So,
county.
certain spots.
Yeah, a Betsy Elder,
Lack of coverage, not lack of
um,
coverage.
contacted me, but, you know,
Most of cats know better.
and a lot of it is, I mean,
Canaan.
you know, you come from Germantown to here and you go down that gully and back up, you lost it. It was a call every time.
The southern side of the county is just all shale ridge and gullies and valleys. They call it Hudson Valley for a reason. But most of our towns don't have enough flat area to make 5G even feasible. 5G needs towers, but needs smaller repeaters. So you have
Right.
to have
More,
buildings, usually 2 or 3 story buildings that can have repeaters on their roofs, and we don't have enough downtownage to do any of that. The only places maybe at, like Chatham or Hillsdale or somewhere.
you know, with Hamlet or Village.
Yeah.
But it's on our radar because Sharon said he's getting a lot of calls about this now, because once broadband gets, you know,
That's a big part of public safety as well, too. More and more people rely on this today.
well, at the county fair, my wife and granddaughter got separated from the group. I had to stop saying I lost my wife. Because someone offered me condolences.
Fair, that was terrible.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And because I have an hour to find her.
Yeah.
Where if you had but, the same thing happened at the Dutchess County Fair, and they had brought in 4 of those big portable, they call them cows. But so, I do think that that's something to at least begin to explore. We meant to mention that we are continuing to work with Canaan and New Lebanon on the USDA grant funding, and town again, and the supervisor has been very helpful. We have a price list to do, I think, all but 3 or 4 houses or addresses. Some of these last mile addresses are 35 grand a pop, and there's a reason that they. So I
The
think,
reason why they're still.
They're not gone.
The easy ones are already taken.
yeah,
Right.
and going to housing, Chris isn't feeling well today, so he took a day off. But I do want to compliment Chris and the housing task force under the co-chairmanship of Supervisor Adams and Knott for working with the task force and then working with the board of supervisors to get the approval for the land bank. We filed the land bank application last Wednesday,
Friday.
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
We had a quick turnaround from the county attorney's office in terms of getting it in, and the gentleman who oversees the land bank application program for Empire State Development was helpful enough to review it before we submitted it, and pointed a few things out we wanted to see. But the goal is to have it on the Empire State Development, New York Urban Development Corporation, doing business as ESD at their October meeting, which will probably be the last week or 2 of the month. And
Is that where that will be approved?
yeah, then, the members have been named, and, what we did do is we had a law student go and, read 2 years of minutes from the Livingston County Land Bank to see what you did to get what had to be done and what sequence to be able to get it up and running. And, a lot will depend on, what the state ends up doing in response to the Colorado case that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled with respect to foreclosures. I'm in the general magnitude, but the county, and many of you may already have the data, but the county did the foreclosure sale that was in process, and it was about like $1.2 million, and about 700,000 was owed in back taxes. So you can see the impact this is going to have. This court case, if depending on what you're allowed to do, if you have to give the net back to the equity owners. In the meantime, I understand that money is in an escrow account. But I think it was a big step. We are working on a housing forum at the end of the month or early November. Tie it into when the state approves the broadband or the land bank. We've asked Darren Scott from Division of Housing and Community Renewal for Upstate to join Adam Bosch from Patterns for Progress to be the speakers. I think the last time we did it, we had Joe Chaika and Darren and two supervisors.
And the
And-
consultant from Albany.
And Duncan Barrett was the moderator. And, I think that it's time to do that again. And I know several communities have been talking to us about, pro-community, applications. I know Copake, is going to pass some, updated, zoning, and land use, provisions, at their next meeting. And, they are moving forward. We did circulate a cheat sheet, that, how you can actually get the application process started. We're happy to help guide you through that. Part of it is that they're asking for 5 years of data that, with most towns only having full-time highway department employees, is probably difficult to pull together.
So I talked to Chris about this. Most towns use BAS software
they can
and they can
Pull
pull it.
it from there.
Yeah,
So,
it's proprietary to the code officers.
but,
If your building inspector was doing a good job.
It's only as good as what the.
If he or she was using it.
Right, yep.
we did
Many
have,
of them have the software, but not everybody.
we did have 8 people, I guess, at the Patterns for Progress annual housing forum in Poughkeepsie from Columbia County last 2 weeks ago. Chris attended the Rural Housing Coalition's conference at Lake George last week. I went up and spoke on a panel with the county planning director from Warren County. And then, there's another conference coming up at Lake Mohonk. Yeah, it's, my grandfather was a apprentice plumber there in 1910, and we grew up about 5 miles from there, so we snuck in there a lot.
You know where the secret rooms are.
Yeah, but the,
Plumbing's the same, so.
yeah, but they didn't have a bar then. It's only recent. So, we've got to wrap up some of the conferences. It's great to go. You're meeting a lot of people. You're getting some offline conversation, as you know, from when you go to the county association conferences. But there is work to get done. Columbia Forward, we had an event at Golden Harvest at their distillery with the chamber last week. I think there were about 60 people there. Bill Gerlach and I spoke briefly about the Supervisors Columbia Forward initiative, what we're doing at CEDC with the towns in terms of economic development support, and what the chamber's doing with businesses. We did participate in the county's climate forums planning session. Jessica was there last week. And we're also going to have our board tomorrow pass the resolution that will allow us to enter into the agreement that you approved at your last meeting, where CEDC will serve as the fiscal agent for your climate carnival next year. I did have a conversation today with Mike Mickle at the fair about how they handle insurance for those organizations. And he put me in touch with a woman from Karen Grady from Hudson Valley Wine Trail, who was the last group to have vendors. Because the question is, does each vendor have to have an insurance certificate? I mean, what's the level of detail? Because we agreed to do this, but we want to make sure we know what we're doing when time
Not
comes.
having any sword swallowing or.
Confederate flags. You know?
Don't get complicated though, the simple things, yeah.
And finally, before let's just here talk a little bit about the brownfield and a request for a resolution. But the only other issue we have are these solar resolutions. These are 2 projects on the next adjoining lots in Kinderhook, and they are the group that went to the school district and wanted to give the school district 70% instead of 50. And so we grossed up their pilot so that they would have to pay $4,500 megawatt instead of 35. Supervisor not caught that, while the attachment schedule showed, the payments at, 4,500, it said 3,500. So we'll have that corrected, when it goes, so that you can give it, if it's approved here tonight, it would go to the
In the text
document,
of the resolution.
the, contract. It's not in the resolution, it's just in the contract.
Correction has to be made.
And then the approval here is always contingent on the school district and the town signing before the chairman signs. And, we will get
And the
you,
planning board process has already been resolved in the town, is that?
I think so.
Yeah. because, we make
Right.
sure that's done too. So, I would,
It's all been approved, right?
yes. And,
A while ago.
yeah, and, I think that, it's interesting because this group, the gentleman who was overseeing it seems to have been replaced and now it's back on their target. But the guy
And bought
came,
by somebody else, I'm sure. That's
Well, the last one that happened,
Yep.
they got it approved and ended it off.
right.
and one of the things that Jim Brigg and I have talked about is most of these agreements say that the pilot payment starts, on the, first, taxable status date after the project is put online. So we have a list, an inventory of about 8 or 10 of these projects that have been approved. And I'm going to start the process of having them either come in by Zoom or in person. And, I want to be sure that, they're not starting on March 2nd and, getting a whole year of free time, although you could
You
get it,
can write a fine in there, penalty or
you
something.
get it at the back end. But,
Yep.
so,
I would think there's other hurdles they gotta go through to get them online that they
Yeah,
wouldn't
but-
play that game. I wouldn't.
No, but
You don't
I,
know.
I've lined it up where, you can go online and they have to report to NYSERDA and they have to report, National Grid has to, report to the PSC that
Right.
they added them. So there's independent ways of doing it. But, I also think that, the contracts have who the party to notice are under these things and these go 15 years. And, as you know, they flip them every,
Right.
they batch them and flip them. So I do think we have to be sure that we have some contact with them once a year to A, to get their check and B, to be sure that, there's some level of, understanding of who's running the place.
Do they report to us, their production?
Yeah, we can get that offline from this.
Okay.
And I also think that,
I get that with the hydroelectric company that's
Yeah.
in our town and they give me a report every year of what.
We
they
haven't-
report to.
we haven't discussed this, but, whether or not you want CEDC to collect the full amount, and distribute it back to the school district, the county and the towns, or whether you want to be chasing 3 entities, with respect to the check. I mean, I think
Which would you prefer?
we prefer that we do it, like we do with the other pilots and we collect it. It would,
Others gonna fall through the cracks.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's, remember in the beginning, when these 60-day notices, it wasn't, the statute didn't say who you sent them to, just you sent them to the county, the town, and the school district. So, some times that, there were early ones where no one got any tax or someone got all the tax. Because, the notices, someone got it on their desk and they didn't know what to do with it. So I think that what we would do is if we did that, we would, do a 1-page amendment, so
This type of.
to the agreement
Right.
for all of them and tell them that they had to make one payment to us. And, we do that.
I used to go to the IDA and then.
That's, yeah.
distributed it.
Well, and I may do it with it may be through the IDA, but then we would do the work because we run the IDA.
So does the town of Kinderhook have a separate operating agreement? Is there any additional
No.
agreement? Is there any removal bond or agreement associated with this? With the
Then
Sure,
expiration?
Through the planning department.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna mention the
That's
county, but in the county I
fine.
worked at for many years, there were all these pilots that occurred and then they were 10-year ones. In the 9th year, the organizations would reformulate into a different LLC
Right.
and then become accessible for another 10-year pilot. Are we doing anything to prevent that sort of thing from happening so that it's not like in perpetuity or there no?
But I
My
think-
thought is the state's gonna change the law in the 15-year. Right now, the 457 law allows for 15 years, but I'm willing to bet that's gonna change.
I think they're gonna take charge of it and give the developer a better deal.
Right.
Oh,
And,
Yeah.
well, because you know, right now.
They can't make any money unless the government pays them to be there, so, you know.
But I do think, your point is well taken. We've seen that with IDA projects.
Yeah.
Right,
But at the same time, there has to be new money for an IDA to, give you a new pilot, and it's only with
New
respect to
benefit,
the, addition or expansion that you're doing. Most IDA, documents are assignable, so that, you know, as an example, the Wick Hotel is for sale, and, one of the developers who's looking to buy it
Right.
came in and wanted, to affirm that these documents allow him to step into the shoes for the last 4 years of the deal. But that's acceptable. But, you know, if at the end of that time period, they come in and say, we want a 10-year pilot, because, you really can only base it on, what the new money is.
And again, this may be, so the removal bond is part of the site plan review. That's, and that it's not a contract, but it's part of the site plan review. What about the certificate of insurance that has to be renewed annually? Is that part of the site plan review, or is that something that we do?
I have to look if there's an insurance requirement here, and that would be something that we'd have to, get, and they didn't
And have
get
to
it.
have all parties noted.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, you know, the IDA, I think, as long as we're contracted to run the IDA, I think it would be better to have it done there in the ordinary course of business. And it actually is better for us, because if you're doing 3 or 4 IDA projects, you're not paying as much attention as if you're doing, you know, 12 solar projects and 3 or 4 IDA projects, because that's somebody's job.
It's also something that falls between the cracks in a lot of towns.
Well, I had a situation where I was a developer in Albany, and the city never sent us a pilot bill. And, so they sent out a letter to 20 developers and said, you know, what's going on here? And they told me I was the only one that showed up. The rest of them said, well, we don't know what you're talking about. But, that was a little bit disingenuous on all our parts, because we knew we had to pay. There was nothing in the agreement that said pay upon receipt of a bill. So I actually would go to, every year I would go and present the pilot check to the IDA, so that, you know, they remembered that if you needed something during the course of the remaining life of the project, they didn't say, well, who are you? As opposed to, oh, here's the guy that raises the check every year. All right. So if there's if there's no more questions on these 2 resolutions, if anyone willing to move them and second them and vote on them.
I'll move them.
I'll second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Just a little on the EPA and the resolution that you.
I'll do the proclamation first, but, we're looking to, put forward, a proclamation, to the full board and, the chairman, where the Veteran Small Business Week, the National Veteran Small Business Week is to be celebrated on October 30th through November 3rd. And so putting a proclamation together for that. Y'all did one, back in April for the National Small Business Week. And that went over really well. We marketed that really, greatly. So kind of looking to do the same thing for the Veteran Small Business Week.
So these are veteran-owned businesses.
Yep.
And there are a lot of them.
Well, it's difficult. There are not a lot that have gone through the certification process with the state, but there are a lot of people who are veterans that own it.
So could be education as well as.
Yep, and so we're working with actually the SBA and looking at sponsoring a couple events that they have for training throughout that week. That's free. So,
At the, and some of the training is, people who aren't veterans could see the advertising and take it. It's in conjunction with the SBA, as well as who are also operating out of the Waterville Arsenal, through the Arsenal Partnership and the McNulty Center, named after former Congressman Mike McNulty. And we have been marketing their programs and their webinars and their virtual programming, right along for our years. And I don't know the exact protocol, because it won't be, usually you would do it at the October meeting, because the week is coming up. You wouldn't do it in September. So we would Could we get it?
We would do it in
Oh, yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
that
you'll
will
send
in
it.
October.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll
Good.
send it to Kelly.
Okay, so we'll just send it.
It
We'll
shouldn't
add
be-
it
Can you
to
do
the-
marketing?
it shouldn't be a
before
problem.
We'll put it up.
And Mike, I just want to clarify on the solar resolution, you've got them listed on here as two, but is it all on one here? I
And there's
mean,
two resolutions, because there's two pilots, because
we
they're,
have one
Kelly only had
resolution.
one resolution.
I only had one.
So yeah, that's why I looked at the, because these had referenced, you got Running Creek
Running
north and
Creek,
south. or
North,
south.
it's Running Creek and Running Creek South,
Right.
and they're mirror resolutions, so if we could approve both of them.
I think we did, but then we only have the one in front of us. But then I think this does say that it's got an attachment of description of the parcel.
Oh, I know
That's
what happened.
blank in both of them.
Yeah, I think what happened was,
So if that was different,
we did actual resolutions, but we only did one of the forms. But and
Resolution
Kelly thought
request
we-
form.
Yeah, Kelly said we didn't need to do both. Remember you said we were,
So it approves both, are both projects
Yeah, we were-
listed on that resolution?
they're not. That's what I'm reading on the
Yeah.
resolution request form. It doesn't say there's two.
yeah, you know what happened was, we didn't do two request forms, but we had done two resolutions, and she said we didn't need to do the resolutions
So maybe she
themselves.
forgot.
So
No,
this
Or just
request,
it was awkward. I know.
yeah,
yeah, this should state that there's two parcels on this one resolution request. So
why don't we get that straightened out for
we could
the
just
full
amend
board
that, the
meeting?
authorization from with Running Creek, the school district and Running Creek Road, solar, and solar south or something,
Yeah.
those wording.
We'll get
Okay.
that,
We'll
It
get
just
that
needs to
cleaned up.
incorporate both locations,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
we'll get that cleared up, because we drafted the resolution.
We gonna put it back to the finance one? And we can.
Hasn't been to finance yet, yeah, but I mean, we can make that request to change it before.
I'll get it done
That's
tonight,
nice
we'll get it done in the
finance.
morning.
We can pass a conditional on the change.
But you said they're mirrored, they're the
Yeah,
same,
they're-
they're identical, so we just need to add.
And on our agenda, it says two, but then this actual text, this doesn't say.
What happened was,
I told talk to Kelly about that.
I think what happened was I had prepared a separate resolution for each contract. But then the
Request.
request form didn't, was only for one of them. We didn't do two request forms.
It's the same parcel, same
Yeah.
property.
Same property, just two different,
Okay.
this way they can make it bigger.
But in the attachment A that says the description of the property, would there be two different maps? Because
Yes.
there's two different parcels.
Yeah,
So
there'll be two
if
different.
they were fully attached to
We'll get that
this, then that would explain it.
Okay, we'll get all
There'd
of
be two
that,
parcel, two exhibit As. that
Yeah.
really-
that were different.
Okay,
We can do special CD for a full board if we have to.
I don't think so. I think we can just, somebody wants to make a motion that it's approved as amended.
I'll do that.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Got a motion and a second to approve as amended. All in favor? Aye. Opposed. We'll work on that wording for finance.
I quickly responded to Kelly and you said, yeah, we were overachievers, and I didn't put it together, which you not did.
Yeah.
No, we should, we should have, if we were doing one request for resolution, we should have talked about both.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
I didn't want to get messed up at full board,
So
you
what was your
know?
second thing?
So just, I can just take two quick seconds to just give an update on EPA. I've mentioned, I think in the past, Greene County had approached us to, collaborate on an EPA coalition grant, which is really under the Brownfield program. So they applied last year, got denied. The feedback they got from the EPA is collaborate with a neighboring county and your application will be a lot stronger. So we have, it's a grant program, that is, starting off where you do an inventory of all your sites, potential sites that are contaminated, and then start to do the environmental reviews associated with them and the environmental assessments. And then it positions you quite nicely for a next round of funding to go in and actually get implementation money for them to make them, kind of shovel ready. So
Commercial sites only?
No, it can be
Commercial,
whatever,
residential.
what the plan should, it should be, to make it a strong site is gonna be, what's the plan for the site in the future? What do you want? Does it need to be, is it intended for housing? Is it intended for commercial? Is it intended, whatever the
Or new
intention
town
is?
hall.
Mhm. Could be.
In Copa, or in Flat Wreck.
And so
So-
what is this meant to clean up though?
What's that?
I thought this originally for like the landfills and stuff like that. What is this for?
It could be for whatever, so if you have a site that you believe could potentially be contaminated,
This would be to inventory those sites and then do an environmental review on them to determine what level they are of contamination. And then position it for, it's very public, it's a public, involvement to position for what's the best use for this site after, for development.
And we have two buildings that are loaded with asbestos, and like,
Perfect, we're gonna put them on the list. Perfect. So I'll reach out, because
Why
what's
don't we
great is
research
the program, guidelines just were issued last week. So they just opened the application
One
round.
belongs to the village of Lake. What's that? The mill? Down on River Street? Oh, no,
Yep.
this is in the town park.
Oh, yeah, you're right, I forgot about those.
We did send an email to all of you, but why
I'll
don't we resend it?
recirculate it now that the guidelines are out. Now there's an application time frame and window where the deadline, I think, is November, it's early November.
I thought this was more for landfills.
It could be, not necessarily, but it's,
The landfills is not a bad idea because the DEC will let us close any of our landfills forever
Mhm.
without more study. And we had people defacing our signs at our conservation area around our landfill last week saying your conservation area is bullshit. It's contaminated with all sorts of crap. And you could have some study saying that maybe it isn't.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is. We should finish cleaning it or something, but I'd like to be able to use these landfills for their next evolution as long as they'll never let us.
Yeah, we thought that was a 30-year agreement.
In fact, 30 years became forever.
Is it capped?
Oh, it's been capped for 30 years.
Okay.
Do
I've
they have
got
test wells that
I've
they
got a
still
great,
sample?
article
that?
to send
Do
you.
they have test wells that they still sample?
Oh, yeah. They don't find anything, but they don't want to close it because they're not sure. And then we have all these people claiming.
They come up with new tests every year, so.
I just want to clarify.
Very valuable
He's got
source of business.
buildings that are operational for a rescue squad or something, and that has, is that a brownfield site?
well, the idea of this
Continue
program
that
is to
roadmap
do an
forward.
assessment to determine, is it contaminated? And
Which-
if
which-
so, you put a plan together, part of this funding, we'll put a plan together to address and
Good
to
idea.
remediate.
Yeah, Tim's got some good ones there.
What's that? Green Grant. Yep, so it's a coalition grant, we're
I've never
working,
seen it, but I was told there's, when the town took it over, the state, because they're state buildings, the
Yeah,
state gave.
That's why they gave them to the town, yeah.
Yeah.
Doug made a good deal, man.
Right, yeah, that and the water tower, it's really good.
Does it leak?
It does, many times.
You took credit for it, you're still paying for it, yeah, right.
so I'll resend, some information, because what we want to do is collect as much as we can about any potential sites that you may have, that you, even if you're unsure, or you're not really, but it doesn't have to be positive at this point. That
So it
you-
helps the grant if we have enough
Mhm.
samples.
Yeah, it'll be a great grant if we could say, or
That's right.
county
Right
is
now, we
not in a
have
great
three.
position.
Right, we have Stuyvesant, Stockport, and Hardwick.
Where's the school building?
We
Is
should have
that
one.
Hillside Copay? So we need to talk to Jeannie and make sure she gets us on the list.
We have all the landfills from Jolene, sure, you can put all the ones that are closed.
And there can be suspected brownfield sites?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't.
If you believe that there might be some contamination, part of it is to do the assessment.
Every farm in somebody's
You
town.
have Columbia box.
Well, we have 115 acres that the town owns on the other side.
On the other side, that 10 acres of that is a brownfield.
It's called Supremacy.
Oh, that's the one where you really in, it's on the
We have
right.
that in
Yeah, he's got a new plan.
The public space and the
Yeah.
pond
Inactive
is not frozen
landfill
in
and
50
exposed
years.
waste. and stuff.
Right, there was, when the guys were building the disc golf course, they came across some of that stuff.
So
Full of
it's-
toxins, so.
Yeah.
That's the old
It's a great
Boxford
site
property,
for
right?
housing
Yeah.
or something else.
Yeah.
Anything, right?
Yeah, they-
Right in that nature.
But the
Yeah.
whole,
It
but
also
that whole
gives a great
property
school
too has
building.
gotta be
Tristan, I think it's in Copay.
mitigated, I would think.
So he's gonna do housing there again.
Without digging up something that will cost the town for.
Yeah.
48.
Well, that's the thing, when they do the study,
Just says
then
it's-
what happens? Okay, is there grant money
If they
available?
can find something, and there's no money there.
Yeah, where's, the
Right.
They
now you
realize
just
how
open
many
the can
people
of
are-
worms,
yeah.
And I'm just what, so now really what they say is now you're in a great position to apply for implementation money. Right, so if we
They
identify,
just want us to rat out.
if we
our
identify
papers.
15
That's what I
sites,
mean.
and then we'll go through and it will kind of prioritize out of the 15 site, let's narrow it down collectively as a county, we narrow it down to 4 sites that we're gonna do a full assessment on. And then it comes up with a plan for remediation, and then you go in and apply for funding to actually carry out that remediation plan.
You could share that with all the supervisors, not just the committee.
Yeah, I'll resend a bunch of stuff.
you
So
sent
I've been
stuff out
doing a lot,
before.
we've been working a lot with Green County over the last couple of months, preparing and waiting for the solicitation to come out, which just came out last week. So now we have a lot more information and specifics about the application and how to craft it. So I'll resend it, and anything, you know, any sites, potential sites, send me some information or a list or whatever it may be. And we'll get that started.
So the Rojan School on Route 22, because this is a 40 acre
40
site.
acres,
40
39 and something.
It was the Rojan School, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yeah.
School on 22.
and then,
That's been vacant for.
there's a new realtor.
Story.
My understanding is there's a new realtor there, so I think that might be the.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
Someone told me that.
Sign comes up, the sign goes down.
Yeah,
Did they mow the grass? If they mow the grass, we love them.
well,
Did they patch the roof?
the biggest issue apparently is where the two buildings came together when they added the addition, and the roof was,
And it's raining in.
yeah, but, and then,
The whole building.
the one developer we talked to, he was interested because he wants the 30 acres behind it to build condos.
Right,
It's not the school.
Yeah.
right, yeah. That's the expense to it, you know.
So nice.
Oh, it's like that development down here, the Wasaic Station, all those condos up, which are quite beautiful on that side. Sorry.
Do we have to do anything to cooperate with Green County in this, or we set resolution was?
No, because it actually, the way it probably will work, we're still trying to figure out the logistics, is that Green County is going to be the lead,
Mhm.
and they need at least 2 non-leads. And so they don't have to be municipal leads. So we're figuring, does it need to be the county or can it be CEDC? So we're still working on that.
The county can do it, to the landfills, that's an easy.
Yeah, and it, regardless of whoever the non-lead applicant is, the part of the coalition, we would take whoever owns, we would kind of do the assessment as long as we have an agreement with, at that point, once if it gets awarded, an agreement with you to do all of, if the county owns the land.
I just want to make sure that, as somebody pointed out.
Ken will give you some work.
We're not gonna.
What's that? Tim will give you some buildings, right?
The old mill site on Belmont.
Because people find out problems and they're like, well, now people know my problems, it's your fault.
It's
People know my
mills,
problems.
right?
Right, we're not talking about this,
Well,
once everything's out there, and you did all that.
Sometimes you don't want
There would be some limit to how many will get funded, so.
Yeah.
But I thought-
Be careful what you ask for.
Well, they don't want any more housing. There was a developer who wanted to put housing in the mill up by the pond.
Yeah. That's
And
what I'm thinking of.
But there's no parking.
there's no parking, so they're gonna do a banquet hall there.
But there's no parking.
They're gonna, well, they have a
Right.
shuttle, they have a shuttle down to the parking lot, like this little village
Okay.
parking lot.
Sorry, just, it's such a beautiful building. It's really wonderful building.
Sitting.
I will,
Motion to adjourn.
yes, or at least turn off the camera.
Got a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, folks.
Little evening